Interesting start to the video. We're on the whip right now, but we just picked these up from a local seller. Shout out to them, ISO Finds, give them a follow on Instagram. But I got these New York vs. New York Air Force One lows, brand new, dead stock, never worn. Got them for a good price, so I figured I'd jump on the deal. Let's get back home right now though, and I'll talk more about it. Alright, so it's actually a few days later, and here I am babysitting Steph's family dog. Wookie, say what's up. Say what's up. Unamused. But anyway, I don't know if I gave enough context, but here is the pair that I scooped up in that local deal. I was browsing on Instagram one day and I saw a local seller had these listed for $80 in dead stock, brand new, never worn condition. It also didn't help that that day was the release of the Street Hawker Dunks, and if you recall on Nike sneakers, it was a mess trying to get those things. And I figured I was in a buying mood anyway, so this was a consolation cop to that. So as I mentioned, these released in July and actually came out in tandem with another pair of Air Force Ones, the Drew Leagues. And I actually remember that too because they came out the day before my birthday. Despite me being a basketball fan and liking this pair and the Drew League pair, I decided to pass just because not enough bread in the pocket to support that. So a bit more about that release. The two pairs commemorate East Coast and West Coast basketball. This pair being the New York vs. New York pair, it commemorates the East Coast. The New York vs. New York basketball tournament is something that Nike sponsors. Essentially what it is, all the top high school prospects in the New York City area come together, and for 6 weeks they compete in this basketball tournament. So all of the locations are held at iconic New York City basketball courts, and they're all actually featured here in these removable patches that come attached to the sneakers, which I'll actually cut off right now. Sick. These just come with a standard black or dark gray Nike Air Force One box. Aside from these patches on the tongue, everything else is pretty standard Nike Air Force One, including the box paper here. Taking a look at the box label, they're an Air Force 107 LV8 in a white black colorway. Retail price is 110 USD. And I guess while on the topic of sizing, I went down half a size from my traditional 9.5. I have a bunch of Air Force Ones in a 9.5, and while I do like the extra room, I find these 9s to be perfect on my feet, not too snug, not too tight. If you've never owned an Air Force One before, they do run a bit big, so just be mindful of that. Whether you want to go true to size or down half, you can't go wrong either way. Finally getting to the sneakers now, you'll see that the uppers are predominantly in a white leather with contrasts of black. The white leather is a synthetic leather, and there isn't really anything crazy or notable about it. Although smooth to the touch, visually it has this texturing to it. And when you compare it to the black leather on the swoosh, it is a tad different. It has that textured look, but also has a slightly textured feel as well. The leather itself isn't soft or anything. It's pretty stiff, and I'm sure it'll wear and break in just fine, but nothing too overly quality feeling about it, if that makes any sense. Pretty much standard Nike GR stuff at this point that we've come to know and expect. The Air Force One in general isn't meant to be a quality sneaker, rather more of a lifestyle, everyday wear. So obviously they're not going to throw premium materials on a somewhat affordable sneaker at $110. So obviously one of the big separators between this pair and a traditional GR pair of Air Force Ones is this logoing at the heel counter. As I mentioned earlier, this is the New York vs. New York pair, so it's stamped on right there. Bummer that it's not embroidered like Air Force Ones that I've had in the past, but it is what it is. Here's the biggest quirk of the sneakers. I mentioned it briefly at the beginning of the video, but it's these removable patches at the tongue. So they come with a bunch of sets of patches representing the locations of a few iconic New York City basketball courts, including Dyckman Park in Washington Heights, West 4th Street in the East Village, Watson in the Bronx, Lincoln Park in Queens, Tri-State in Harlem, and Gersh Park in Brooklyn. Continuing the quirks on the sneaker are these two lace dobrays that are in a metal material and say New York vs. New York. And then matching those are the lace tips, same metal, and they say Nike on them, which is a nice added touch. I guess while talking about the laces too, they have this sort of luxe feel to them. It's quite different from the yarn material I'd say that they use on standard Air Force Ones. These definitely have more of a textile feel to it, if that makes any sense. And underneath the laces is a white nylon tongue, not a leather one that you'd find on a traditional triple white Air Force One GR. Aside from those details, everything is pretty much standard Air Force One. So you get that white textile inner lining with a black Nike insole, no New York vs. New York logoing in there. Moving down to the midsole, it's a white rubber one with the black Air painted on. And then to match that is the black rubber outsole with your traditional Air Force One traction pattern. I mentioned sizing on these things. If you want to go down half a size, you can't go wrong, but if you want a little bit of a roomier fit, stick to your true shoe size. And then there's nothing particularly comfortable about Air Force Ones in general. They utilize a very basic sneaker technology, so don't expect anything like a React or an Ultra Boost type thing, but for what they are, they're certainly passable. Overall, I think these are super clean and super well done. I love the little New York vs. New York detailing on here. It makes it a quirkier sneaker than your traditional black and white Air Force One, which, you know, if you get rid of little details like that or that, these are, in essence, just a black and white Air Force One. I also don't remember these things to be too difficult to get back when they released in July of 2020. They obviously had their release on the Nike Sneakers app, and they sold out. And I think they also ended up on the Nike app as well, but correct me if I'm wrong. But they also appeared at most retailers, and if you wanted them, you probably could have gotten them somewhat easily. If you know me, you know I love my New York themed sneakers just because it's so close to home. I have these two pairs of the Lady Liberty Ultra Boosts. And then closer to the Air Force One silhouette, I have this pair of the Rucker Park Air Force Ones. And then most notably too, not in my possession, they're at Steph's house, but I got her those Kith New York Knicks Air Force Ones that released a few months back. Generally, there isn't a crazy market for Air Force Ones, but for themed ones like this one, they tend to appreciate in value over time, and being a few months out from release, these things are already starting to rise a little bit in price. I wouldn't say it's anything earth-shattering, but if I wanted to make a few bucks on these, I probably could. But if you know me in the channel, anything that I pick up, I tend to hang on to unless I really need to get rid of things, so these are definitely going to get a lot of wear in my collection. Again, I love how simple and clean these are, and they're just super versatile to wear in pretty much every scenario, so glad to have them. But anyway, that wraps it up for this video. Let me know what you think of these New York vs. New York Air Force One lows in the comment section below. Is this a pair of sneakers that you'd rock? Were you messing with them when they released back in July? And generally, are you messing with deals on Instagram? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to chat about it. If you like videos like this one, be sure to drop it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I make all these random sneaker pickups, and I'm doing different styles of videos these days. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at StuffDylanLikes. I post pictures of pickups in advance, so if you want a little tease to these videos, that's the place to go. But that's all I got for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.